All right, it's after 3 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with roll call.
George McCuistion, Jeff Struble,
Here.
Betsy Bernstetter, Lisa Cronister, Brian Fitzsimmons, Long Nguyen, John Robinson, David Yost. You have a quorum.
All right, super. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from last month? Do we, second? All right, do we have all in favor? Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to cases for individual consideration. Is that number 6A?
Yes, this item was continued from the meeting of April, and the Commission had a series of issues and questions regarding the legality of the use and the legality of the structure and the permitting for the structure. And we have dug into that a little bit with the Development Services Department and confirmed that the use is permitted and that the structure can obtain a permit. And we've kind of detailed the type of permit and what would be necessary in terms of anchoring the structure to withstand 90-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But aside from that, there aren't any legal issues with regard to either the building permit or the use at that location. So it brings us back to, again, the design of the structure, which we provided a recommendation for denial on this because we had concerns with the not only the size of the structure and its compatibility with the surrounding structures in the area, but also the construction materials as well. And we have some graphics here of what the structure looks like right now. It's a 12 by 8 structure. It's sitting in the parking lot now and has been for quite some time. These are colors that he's proposed to paint the structure. It's, I think right now, a blazing yellow and some kind of a red color. But in any case, our recommendation is that we deny this application and are prepared to respond to any questions the Commission may have.
Any questions for discussion?
Is the applicant, as far as you know, intending to be here? Or do you know?
They are aware of the date of the hearing, and I'm not sure why they're not here at this point in time.
Have they talked to you since the last meeting?
I've made 3 attempts to contact them with regard to whether or not they had anything they wanted to change about the structure before the meeting, and never had any response back from them.
Just one other question related. So you've talked with Public Works. They, in effect, that was some of the confusion last time. They did or did not issue a permit.
It's actually Development Services, and yeah, they actually had issued a permit and then realized the error and put a kind of a stop on that permit until the urban design review aspect of the issue was resolved.
And so did they determine it to be a temporary building or a permanent?
No. They're looking at it as a permanent structure, and they said it does not need to have a foundation, but it can be anchored with engineered anchors into the parking lot.
Excuse me, I'm having trouble understanding for some reason today, but this would be an acceptable use in a lot of other areas. It's really the urban design guidelines that preclude it. And
Yeah.
I understand that, and we have to respect that if we're going to function as a commission. But, a snow cone stand, number one, to me, it's kind of the quintessence of incipient free enterprise. Mm-hmm. And secondly, it's a perfect adjunct to the walkability that we've been seeking, and in an area that's kind of developing a festival atmosphere, it's a perfect use. I'm wondering, is there are they considering any kind of alternative as far as possibly locating in a storefront? I hate to see something like that just swatted away.
The building that this structure is positioned in front of is fully leased. There's no vacancies in that building, so that hasn't been a consideration of theirs that I'm aware of.
do we think, I mean, it's not our job to figure out a business plan for them, but do we, being familiar, probably even more so than we are with that area, does there seem to be an alternative in that area that might work for the use they're seeking? A type of alternative, not a specific location. I don't mean that, Michael, but
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head earlier when you said that, it's a design district issue, and I think if this were anywhere outside of a design district, they'd probably be up and operating and probably would have had sales last summer. But and we've tried to explain that to them and tried to encourage them to find another site somewhere outside the design district, and they appear pretty resolute to try and make it go at this particular location. I don't know what the relationship is between the applicant and the property owner. They seem to be pretty tightly related, and that's why I think they're still pushing for this particular location. There are other locations up and down 23rd that they could put this, but I think you'd probably run into the same issues that we've outlined in the report, just because it's in the design district.
yeah. Well, I mean, if there's any opportunity to at least encourage them in that direction, it'd be nice to do that, because it's the kind of use that would probably benefit the area, and we'd love to see someone be successful with a small startup like this.
There's have we thought about doing a guideline for this type of structure?
Well, it's something that obviously probably needs some attention in looking, redoing the guidelines, because at this point in time, it's hard to, it's kind of a square peg in a round hole in terms of what the design guidelines are. I'm not sure when our next rewrite of the guidelines is scheduled. We can certainly start taking a look at that and putting it on our to-do list, I guess, but at this point in time, we don't have any plans to overhaul those guidelines.
At 36th of May, there are two of these structures.
36th?
36th of May, which is not in our purview,
Right.
I understand that, but one of them, and they basically have the same materials, which one of them is very nice looking. They did a little patio and stuff like that, and one of them looks just like this. And I don't know exactly how you would write that into a guideline. I mean, it would be difficult. But I think they're all made out of that plywood that, is probably going to dissolve after about 5 years. And,
Well, we've tried to encourage them to dress this particular structure up in some way, but quite frankly, I was at a loss to tell them how to do that. It's a pretty tough little building to work with, and I think part of the reason is just the size alone renders it kind of incompatible with the surrounding structures. But obviously, in a lot of areas, you can make concessions for that because it's not in a design district, and you don't have to worry about some of the guidelines that apply in this particular area. But because we do have these guidelines here, we felt like we had to bring it to the Commission's attention because we just don't think it's the kind of structure that the design district is intended to promote.
And I guess the conundrum, if it was on wheels, then it would be great.
Well, if they put it up every day and towed it away every day, I don't know what we would have to say about it. I still say it's probably subject to the design guidelines, and we probably still have some of the same issues. Yeah, right.
Well, I think that we do need to look into that, because I think with the food trucks and these mobile, I think people are looking at smaller venues to do stuff, especially as things start filling up in the different districts. I think that is something important.
Yeah, this guy does have a shoestring budget, and that's part of the reason he's not able to do much more with the building than what he has, so.
All right, if there's no more discussion, move on for...
I do have one more question.
Okay.
Would a rolling taco truck be allowed to set anchor in that urban design district?
Off the top of my head, not having looked into it much, but
It would be kind of
obviously a rolling taco truck with an engine in it would not be considered a structure. And
I
probably
understand
wouldn't-
that.
And probably wouldn't be subject to the guidelines.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think that gives way to what Betsy's suggesting, is that we could somehow come up with something in the guidelines that didn't compromise what we're really after, but would allow more flexibility for something like that. And maybe it could be upgraded considerably in appearance so as to be acceptable. But it's something we ought to think about, I think.
Well, that's, we're always looking, to make sure that our standards are as up to date as possible, and with the evolution of food service and the way things are going in that direction, it's probably something we need to pay some attention to, yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Oh, okay, is there a second on the motion?
I'll make it again. I didn't realize that, but still something. I move that we deny the application.
There-
Simply because it doesn't comply.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Everybody, Brian. No, we didn't. We were getting ready to vote. Everybody in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, that passes or denies. Okay, moving on to communications.
We just have a few items on the administrative approval report. We have a 400 square foot addition to a barbecue restaurant adjacent to Granddaddy's on 23rd. The addition's in the alley, so you really can't see it from the street. A couple signs going along with that. Then there's a new LED, or a new EMD level 1 sign at the McDonald's at the corner of Penn and West 23rd. And then a new sign for a home services business on 914 Northwest 23rd. And then we've also provided the commission with fresh new copies of the revised bylaws for the Urban Design Commission, which were adopted at the last meeting. And then that's the completion of our part of the communications agenda.
All right. Move to the bylaws. Is that what you just...
Well, there should be a copy in your packet of those revised bylaws, and we just wanted to make sure that you had the most current copy of those bylaws as they were adopted at the last meeting.
All right. If there's nothing else, I guess we're ready to adjourn. All right.
I apologize for being late.
Second. I'm second. Did Brian's motion have a second?
We can just do it.
Just